Lift off. Go get it.
All right, friends, welcome back to another weekly update here on Trade Stock Podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, you will see I'm sitting with Sean Laux here of K&amp Landscaping. Sean, what's up, man?
How's it going?
So Sean is our leader of innovation and technology at K&amp Landscaping.
I am.
What's that like?
I mean, it's a crazy job. It's something that I didn't think I would ever be doing, especially in the green industry, for sure. It involves everything from managing AI, going through the process of that stuff, managing and creating vision for how we're going to implement AI in the future. And then ensuring that the team is like locked in on our vision.
That's a big one, right?
Yeah.
Is like getting the team buy-in. When we rolled out Aspire in 2021, that was our biggest challenge.
Yeah.
But ultimately what made it successful was team buy-in. And I think today, the speed at which technology is moving, alignment around a vision and team buy-in on the fact that we're going to be experimental, we're going to be trying these new technologies is the difference between success and failure.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of change management, that's one of the biggest things in any large company, but change management itself is really, really hard to deal with, even with a 6 month to a year long cadence. So trying to do things and change and pivot in like a month or two is pretty tough, but it just really comes down to the team understanding and having that outline. Like you said, like, things will change, create that clarity, and say, just walk with us on this journey here, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking about that, I want to plug our partners here on Trade Stock Podcast on our weekly update, Cress Equipment. So Cress has been with us for about 2 years now. You've been very instrumental in the second phase, what I call the robotics phase and autonomous phase of our Cress partnership. And, you know, for folks listening to this, you don't need to go and deploy 10 or 15 or 100 robots to be moving the needle. Just do one.
Yeah.
And that's my recommendation today is if you do not have a robot in the field and you have any type of a landscape maintenance operation, go get one of those small, what like the KR280 or whatever.
Yeah, it's one of the KR, I think it's 280. There's a 380, there's a 480, it goes up and up. But just get that base level model and try it out. Understand like the friction that you might have with it, figure out the right places to put it, and just kind of get your hands a little dirty.
Yeah. I think that's what has helped us innovate and build momentum is trying things out.
Yeah.
So cool. Okay. So guys, listen, this is weekly update, and normally weekly update, it's a solo update, but I wanted to bring Sean on, and Sean's going to be a regular in these weekly updates because we are making a pivot. We just had a year on weekly update together, and thank you for listening. Thank you for being a follower on this journey. And I see an opportunity in the market that I don't think has ever been here before. And this is artificial intelligence and the ability to leverage artificial intelligence to enhance your working environment and to ultimately achieve more success. And for us, it's all about 100K.
Yeah.
100K minimum is what we're after. So I am going to be focusing our weekly updates and the Disruptor newsletter, the Disruptors Advantage, along with our Disruptors community on how to leverage and implement artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe this is the difference of successful companies in 5 years from today.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say in July of 2026 that if you don't use artificial intelligence as a landscaper, you're going to fall behind. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
But if you're just like the robots with Cress, if you're not working on it today, it's going to be really hard to get your team on board in a year or even 6 months when that next level technology comes out.
It'll be friction to try and get the team on board. There will be so many different avenues and venues and software to buy that you won't even know where to start. So creating that education for yourself right now is really like the ultimate unlock for you as a business owner. If you can understand how it works, understand the right places to implement it, and make sure you have process in place to do that, you're ahead of the game.
You're ahead of the game. I really like that. If you're listening to this right now, I just want to tell you you're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
This is the point of weekly update, is if you listen to this update every single week, that alone will make you ahead of 90% of other trade professionals and landscapers in the industry.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Yeah.
Now that's what we're shooting for here.
Let's make it happen.
So let's jump in. All right.
Yeah.
So give me an example of how you have utilized artificial intelligence in the last 7 days that someone would be surprised by.
So I'm working with a large database right now. All of our information is structured around this large database. And very recently, I've been able to apply that AI in ways to map that data and understand that data that I wasn't even processing a week or two ago. It's really about creating a foundational structure with that database and then tying AI into it and really asking for those insights and understanding what it can and can't do. And it knows it better than you do. So what I really spent my time on was understanding what's in that database that we're pulling from Aspire and tying AI into that. And I've gotten to a point now where I've established all the things I want to do. So I look at it and go, what's cool? What should we do?
Yeah.
And so it's running me through different playbooks and strategies and ideas around how to take the data set that we already have, the structure I've already built, and provide really solid insights for our team. So I plateaued a little bit on it, and now I'm getting to this point where I'm leveraging not only my knowledge, but the information AI is giving me to build new skills and abilities and really new insights into how we operate on a daily basis.
It's interesting. So it's access to information and access to data. So talk about the database a little bit, because I think some people are listening to this wondering, well, why would I need a database? What goes into a database? I have Aspire or K&amp or Real Green or Jobber that is kind of like my ERP. I see my invoices and do job costing. I've got QuickBooks or Sage or Acumatica that holds all my financial knowledge. I've got SharePoint or Google Drive or another file storage system that holds all of our SOPs.
Sure.
Why do I need a database if I have data that is living in all these different areas?
And that's the whole point, is it's living in different areas. It's siloed, right? Okay, so if I wanted to talk about my job costing and compare that to what I have currently in my bank account, how would I do that right now, right? So I would have to go to QuickBooks and understand what's going on, pull a report out of QuickBooks, pull a report out of anything that I'm doing job costing on, compare the two, give that to my financial person, or maybe they're the one doing it and they're having to do this work. Maybe they, at that point, plug it into AI and get the information they need.
Yeah.
Let's skip some steps, right? So creating this database allows one source of truth for every single piece of software you use that you can pull into. So if we want to pull in financial reporting, if we want to pull in job costing, if we want to pull in things from like places like HubSpot for lead intake.
Got it.
Once it lives in one place, AI has a much better vision of what the company does and how it operates. And it's going to give you much more quality answers than trying to just apply it to one or two pieces of software that you use that's disconnected and doesn't talk to each other.
Okay, let's get a little nerdy on this. So when you're pulling in data from, let's just use Aspire and QuickBooks as two examples, and HubSpot. Let's say 3 different places. Is all the data structured the same in Aspire and QuickBooks?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so how do you, because I'm just thinking of someone downloading an Excel file and dropping it into this database, but like walk us through exactly what you're doing when you're moving data into a database.
So, I mean, you gave me permission to get nerdy, so I will. So the database lives as, we're going to call it like just the craziest spreadsheet you've ever seen. That's how it's structured. Pulling in through an API, which is a specific like pipe that funnels information from one software into your database. It comes in whatever language that it speaks, right? So if you have specific jobs in Aspire, if you have specific opportunities, issues, things like that, Aspire will dump it into the database as Aspire has written it. And if I went to QuickBooks and wanted to pull specific information, it will do the same exact thing. It will pull it in as QuickBooks has written it. Same thing for HubSpot. Everything is structured and managed in different ways. So there's a term called normalizing data. In a database, you want that raw data. That's the first step. Pull it all into the database as raw data. Let it name itself whatever it wants to. Then you have to have essentially a glossary where you have worked through and said, this, like an opportunity is this in Aspire, but it actually is a deal in HubSpot. So they're called two different things. If I were to just take AI, put it right on that raw data, the AI will give you its best guess, but it won't know that an opportunity is a deal in HubSpot. So create the glossary, and then once it has that glossary of this means this or this, depending on the software you're using, then you come out of that and say, hey, process all of this raw data into normalized data that you can then interact with. And if I wanted to use common language to say, what's the last opportunity that we won? It's going to know that it can look at HubSpot for that deal. It can look at Aspire for that opportunity and provide you with a valid answer that you won't get frustrated with.
And you said something right there that's Aspire language, which is provide me a report on a deal we've won. So it's like when we win win an opportunity in Aspire, that means we have closed that job, or we have, we have won job. That's the best way I can say it. But different languages mean different things. So I posted on Instagram that the CFO skill that we've built together and is basically replaced the need for a CFO inside of K&D.
Yeah.
I got a ton of hate because I've got all these CFOs who are like, no, this isn't going to do what I would do for you. And it's like, you're right. It's not. I'm not saying it replaced a CFO that we had in place.
Yeah.
It removed the need for us to hire that in Q1, Q2, or so far Q3. We'll reanalyze going into Q4. We may hire a CFO, but today we don't need. Here's the thing that a lot of people were frustrated with that post is, well, how does that CFO skill know what is a opportunity versus a deal?
Yeah.
How does it know what's overhead versus direct costs?
Sure.
How does it know all these things?
Yeah.
And I only have 3 minutes on Instagram, so I can't explain all this in detail, but you're giving us and the listeners here a very clear understanding of how delicate artificial intelligence context and analyzation really is.
Yeah.
Because if you miss that step in the workflow process here of normalizing the data and creating the glossary, then whatever AI intelligent layer you put on top of it to analyze that data will always give you wrong answers.
It's going to feel really dumb. Yeah.
And most people are trying to race to implement AI only to be left and have a result of AI slop. And why most people say, well, AI makes a ton of mistakes.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, show me your instructions. Show me your base instructions. How many quality QA process and workflow loops do you have it run?
Yeah.
My CFO skill runs 3 of like recursive loops to double check its own data.
Yeah.
And it will say, oh, I missed this, I missed that, without me ever having to prompt it.
Yeah. And that's where you find the frustration yourself when you're a user. And look, I'm a data and systems guy. That's where my brain goes. So the one advantage I've had in this whole process is knowing that like I want a really solid foundational layer. I can't just plug AI into a solution and into a problem and expect a solution, right?
Okay.
I have to give it really, like you said, really solid instructions, understanding what it needs to do from like front to back, work with AI on that. Start with the problem and say, hey, I have this problem. I want you to solve it. And I want to walk through the steps on how we're going to solve that problem. Make it a human kind of interaction in that sense. And it'll walk through those steps to solve the problem. Those steps then become kind of the guidelines and the rules for it. And then that QA is so important. That self-check, like have it do that self-check because it's going to lean on that instruction, understand what you want to do, and give you an answer. If you then say, double check your work, maybe once or twice at the bare minimum, it's going to provide much, much higher quality answers. But at the end of the day, just trying to plug AI into a problem it's not going to work.
Yeah. I would actually compare it to bringing on a new team member. If you hire an account manager to manage a book of business and you say, all right, Mr. Account Manager, here's your book of business, here's your portfolio, go do your job.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to you in a month. And you come back, I mean, it's not going to work. You have to onboard that person to fit your culture, to fit your way of doing things, to fit your SOPs. Yeah. It's the same thing with artificial intelligence. 100%. When you bring it on, not just the first time, but every time you want it to do a new task, you got to take the time to train it. Yeah. So when we start to say this, people are going to probably be thinking, well, then what's the freaking point of AI? If I have to spend all this time, and I would agree, I am spending more time not less in building and growing and managing the business as a CEO. Yeah. I feel like my time's going further, but I do not feel like I'm saving time with AI.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a bit of a misconception.
I think it very much is. It's not efficiencies around AI. That's kind of how AI started and kind of stepped into the whole market. It's going to save you time and it's going to be way easy, right? And over time, we've found that a lot of it really is just about building that base and creating some efficiencies for you and your team to execute better. But you'll find time in very specific places. You won't find an overall like time savings. You're not going to look back and go, I'm not doing anything anymore. What you are going to find, and what I've personally found, is that I stick my head up 6 months later and go, wait, like we can get proposals out so much faster now than we did 6 months ago. And it's very specific things. And it's because we've taken the right steps to build that, but building it is really hard. At a recent Disruptors dinner, you shouted over and said, hey, like, we're looking to hire somebody to help me out with AI at K&D. Well, why do you need to hire somebody at K&D? AI should be able to do it for you, right?
Yeah.
And my answer, and we're looking for somebody, by the way, if you have anybody, send them our way. The answer really was that setting up and establishing an AI workflow is really hard. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. It's just what you get, and if you do the work, the back end of that means that you're not going to have to do that work anymore. If you set it up the right way and you're getting the right reporting, it makes it much easier and more efficient at the back end, but that setup is always hard. So that's why we need to bring somebody in, is to help establish that setup to make everything way more efficient on the backside.
I really like the way you unpack that. I've got a few questions for you because I want to talk a little bit about like what an agent is, what an MCP is, some of these buzzwords that people throw around that you're probably hearing out there as listeners and just wondering, all right, what are these things? So we're going to unpack that. First, though, I want to just share this is a weekly update. So I would like to share lessons and things I've learned this week. Yeah. So it was Wednesday, 2 days ago, and Mark Praya of Peak Landscaping mentioned in our Disruptors peer group, he commented, hey, does everyone know or track your throughput? And immediately I was like, of course, we have so many KPIs. I'm sure I'm tracking this. And then he goes, it's gross profit per labor dollar spent. And I go, holy shit, I never tracked that KPI. I'm a nerd for this kind of stuff. So immediately I go, what is it? Okay, well, it's your labor dollars. It's your gross profit divided by your labor dollars. Okay. So ideally, gross profit is more than what you're spending on labor. Yeah. So really quickly, I actually needed to jump in the truck to go somewhere. So I threw on Reggie, my Claude agent, and I just started talking to Reggie. I said, hey, Reggie, I got this question about throughput. I need to know what is our gross profit per labor dollar spent for each division. And it's like 1 sec, and it starts running all this stuff in the background, pulling out this K&D MCP on top of the database, and boom, 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 and it comes back. All right, Justin, here it is. And it was, I'll tell you guys the numbers. The throughput on maintenance is $1.27. The throughput on commercial is about $2.50, and the throughput on residential is over $3. So for every dollar in labor we spend in residential, we get $3 in gross profit, which is double what we're getting in maintenance, which makes sense considering everything. So then I go, okay, well, I want to know exactly what our throughput is every month for the last 12 months, and I want you to put it on a graph. And it goes, okay, let me go grab all the P&Ls for the last 12 months. And if you're listening to this, you probably have labor hours or labor costs broken out by division, by month in your P&L. Sure. At least I hope you're doing that. And I would probably have to go through, print out or export a P&L for that period of time. And then I would have to kind of add up. Okay, labor for maintenance is this. Gross profit for maintenance is this. And I'd take those numbers and compare them. All of this happened with Claude using the Supabase database that you explained, and basically gave me a 12-month trend. Yeah. Then I said, hey, using my CFO skill, which I'll put that in the link to the show notes if you guys want to check out the CFO skill, analyze the data and tell us a little bit about what's going on here. Yeah. I was expecting to look at the last 12 months and talk about trends and this and this, which it did. That was about 20% of it. 80% of the response was, where are we going? Which I'm so stoked because that is what a CFO should be doing. And so it starts to talk about, okay, I'm looking at other situations that are going on, trends over the last 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months in specific areas. You're having more subcontractor costs. You're having this, more material and commercial. And the last July, these were the numbers. And based on the trend, I think you're going to be above. But here's some things you can do to increase throughput. And I just go, oh my God, I'm sitting here driving in my truck. I'm driving for 10 minutes now. I haven't touched a keyboard or a computer or anything. I'm literally just using my smartphone. And I have gained more knowledge than I've had access to ever. Yeah. And so it's this combination of the Disruptors and Mark kind of pinging me on that and bringing attention to something that I've never thought about, which is shout out disruptors. Love that group for that reason. And then it has the connectivity and the ability to pull through Claude or Reggie, as I like to call him, and give me this whole outline. And then I pulled the CFO skill, full circle moment to get analyzation. And then I go ahead and say, hey, now, and I'll stop my rant and I'll throw it back to you, Sean. Then I said, hey, draft me an email to each of the divisional leaders and share with them this information. Sign it you. I don't want this coming from Justin because this isn't. This is coming from Reggie. Yeah. And then send that email. Also shoot out John a full company-wide. Yeah. John's our COO. And it drafted those emails and I fired it off. And it basically signed it, hey, Reggie. So they know, like, I'm not trying to take credit for what my AI agent did. Sure. I really want them to know that this was specifically Reggie, not Justin.
I love that.
So that was just something crazy that happened this week.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty nuts. You went from an idea somebody else had to implementation through iteration all the way to execution. And that's AI. If you could do it the right way and set it up the right way, that's the vision.
Yeah. So I saw a stat. I want to get your take on this. And I don't know how I didn't validate this, so don't hold me to it. But it said that companies where the CEO was in charge of the AI strategy or heavily involved with it had a 3 times better return on AI. Yeah. Have you seen this? Or what's your, just forget about if you've seen the
I literally
data.
Listened to that podcast on the way into work today.
Did you? Okay. We listened to the same podcast. All right. What do you think? What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, at the end of the day, it really comes down to individual ownership, single-threaded leadership. And this is such a large process that touches so many parts of the company that CEOs leading this charge, understanding and acknowledging that they need to take ownership because they own the structure of the company, they own the processes in the company. At the end of the day, the company is their baby, right? Yeah. So the CEO being in charge of this, number one, you get way better buy-in than bringing in, I'll speak for myself, a tech nerd, to say, hey guys, this is what we're doing. The vision needs to come from the CEO, and they need to understand that implementation through them is really key for this process because it involves so much restructuring and reorganizing processes in a business. So I think it's a really valuable number to know and a value for most CEOs. And most CEOs, according to that same data, are invested in this. Most CEOs are the ones pushing this forward because they're the ones understanding that friction that they deal with every day, the teams that they have to manage, it's a lot. So if they can get efficiencies, if anybody on a C level can get efficiencies back in their day or understand and get better context to manage the team better, they're winning.
Yeah, it's interesting when you see this as a CEO, you start to become a bit of a superpowered CEO. Yeah. You start to be able to provide your team with absolute clarity over things that have always just lived under the surface. So I want to ask you a question about what Dan Martell said here. So in my Disruptors Advantage newsletter that's going out today, actually, if you aren't subscribed to it, subscribe. It's links in the bio, guys. Level 1 is the AI assistant. You open Claude or ChatGPT and you ask it to write you a proposal, a draft, an email, clean this piece of data up, whatever it is. Level 2. This is where leverage lies. You stop doing the task and you start managing the thing that does the task. Yep. This is automated workflows, things you do constantly, daily, weekly, monthly. Yeah. You create, this is kind of Claude Cowork. Yeah. The third level is really where almost no one's living, but you are living in this space. And I don't know if anyone else in K&D is really here yet. One agent runs a team of agents, coordinating work across the business while you set direction and improve the result. Yep. So what's your thoughts on those 3 levels? How Dan Martell explain it? What's he missing?
I think they're pretty accurate. I think the first level is where the majority of people live. This is kind of a little bit of ChatGPT-itis for me. Like it's that you need to proactively, you have an idea, you proactively reach out, you have a conversation, it spits out an answer, maybe it gives you a document, and then you're kind of good to go. You end up with 5 million documents and everybody providing different levels of document quality. So you run into an issue pretty quickly. Level 2 is that first step into automation. And I would also say agents. Like you're
Right.
you're building your first agent or you're building your first automation. And I think the one thing that I will say that he probably didn't have enough time to elaborate on is an automation isn't an agent. An automation isn't necessarily AI. Automation is literally like, I want to go from step A to step B to step C every single time. It doesn't need to think about it.
Yeah.
This is the rule for A, this is the rule for B, this is the rule for C. And that handoff can just happen with basic triggers. It doesn't require any sort of like reasoning or thought.
That's good delineation.
An agent requires that thought. An agent, and you asked earlier, you mentioned that you were going to talk about what to describe an agent, and I will.
Perfect.
An agent is AI that uses a tool to provide a result. And that is a level of AI. So let's just take like Claude, for example. Claude is an LLM. It's AI. And without access to things like, we'll use a really basic example, your email, it is just a chat. It will provide you with information. It doesn't necessarily have context. It's not going to take a ton of action for you. It'll give you some information back. The second it goes from a chat to a chat that has access to your inbox, now it has access to a tool. So you can then say, hey, I want you to pull information. I want you to pull context. I want you to draft an email. I want you to send an email. That's the very basic agent, is just an LLM that has access to tools to provide you with a specific kind of output.
Okay. I like that description really well. Now, how do you have an agent who runs a team of agents? What does that look like? And maybe give us a bit of a visual if you can, and then let's like probably save some of this for next week, and we could go deep into agents and agentic workflows, but maybe just explain the concept of having an agent who then manages multiple agents. I think this is a concept that very few understand.
Your analogy earlier is kind of hit the nail on the head. It's a CEO. So we'll call that a boss agent that has context on everything you do.
Yeah.
Right? They're at the top of the stack. And then that CEO has people to report to them that do specific things. We have pillars in our company that they're in charge of, right?
Yeah.
So those agents are in charge of that particular job. So that main agent says, oh, I have this task and I have so much context and I have a ton of information. I'm probably not going to provide the best quality output. Let me give it to an expert in that specific thing, and they'll have more precise and more specific context to give you. So it's a company. It's a CEO managing people underneath them that do very specific jobs, probably better than they do.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're going to be able to execute much better. So that's like a really simple way to describe it.
And so the boss agent, so to speak, I like that. They have skills that are delegation, quality control, oversight, process, descriptive process explanation. So it can really explain the workflow and workload to another agent, but that agent has specific skills. Let's say it's a marketing agent. It has skills that is trained on Google ads and can go and theoretically, here's a bit of an idea, right? You tell your boss agent, hey, I want to report on all of our Google ads, the bottom 50% of Google ads in terms of our, push through, our click rate, our ROAS, all of this. I want you to cancel and stop those. And I want you to iterate on the top 50% and create, basically duplicate the top 50% with a slight difference to see if we get traction. That boss agent will then go to the marketing agent who has skills and access to Google LSAs and Google, which there is MCPs here. Yeah. And it can go and basically delete and then update those ads and then push those through with you basically giving a one prompt directive.
Correct. Yeah. And it frees up, once again, it'll free up context and time for that boss agent. So you can keep feeding that boss agent information and it can continue to delegate. So it's not hung up on a task. It hands it over to another agent that gets hung up on that task. And then you can, if you run a business, you're context switching all the time. You just asked about marketing. Now I have a financial question. Yeah. So it's not sitting there spinning its wheels on marketing and financials. It already delegated that. So it can now delegate that financial question to its financial agent. Like it just really opens up the opportunities. There is such a thing as a context window for AI. You can give it too much information and then it starts to lose its like efficacy. It doesn't operate as well. So starting to delegate things to specific agents means that you're freeing up context for that main agent you're talking to provide you good output still.
And that's why when I was looking at, you were sharing the operating system with the disruptor group on Disruptor Day here at K&D, and you were sharing the agentic workflow operating ecosystem basically.
Yeah.
And you had agents that, you even had an agent that was like the invitation to bid commercial agent.
Yeah.
So like, how specific is that agent and what is that agent trained on?
I mean, the beauty of that is you can make it as specific as possible. For like a request to bid agent, it's really just about, you have to start thinking about what it would look like in terms of outbound communication, things like that. So it will go through and have context and information on exactly what jobs are out there that exist in the world, and provide whoever manages commercial for your company that information in whatever output you want. And you can also have it take action to do that outbound, that reach out essentially. So it has a very specific job. It scours the internet, scrapes for every single job that's available, provides that structured list based on ICP or whatever it is. And then that whoever owns that can be the human in the loop and say, give me the top 10. Your top 10 was right. We'll just make it easy. Your top 10 was right. Let's get some outbound reach for them. And then it just does that. So you can set that up on a daily, weekly cadence, whatever. And that human in the loop just has to say, I like what you're doing, or pivot, do this, and then do the outbound reach.
Yeah, that's exciting, because if you're a commercial construction bid build company or have a service in your company that does that, the most frustrating thing for me is driving by a construction site where a building's going up and I see sleeving in the ground, and it's not our sleeving. And we have a certain way of doing sleeving. So I could tell it's not K&D, and we don't have there's no job site sign. And I know that's like a thing. We have job site signs. And so I call Brian. I'm like, hey, do we bid 123 Smith Street? There's a new building going in. He's like, no, I don't see it anywhere. Yeah. Some fucking out of town GC snuck in, bid it with some out-of-town developer. They didn't know that we were even here because they didn't have time, because they're trying to find, people to do the carpentry and the roofing and then they're like, oh, landscaping. And so they just find some random landscaper. They bring them in from Fresno. But the main thing is, like, I want to bid on every job that's happening in our service area in commercial work. Yeah. That's over a certain size. But like, we just want to bid everything. At least give them a number. And I think most commercial construction companies feel the same way. If you have construction happening in your market, you want to bid it. Yeah. That's kind of the beginning and impetus of this agent was, let's not miss anything. Yeah. So there's problems happening in our business every day. When you identify these problems and you can assign solutions to them that really actually fit the problem, I think that's where you start to get a lot of ROI. Mm-hmm. Now, in November, we're partnering with the National Association of Landscape Professionals. Really excited about this.
Stoked.
We are going to be doing a half-day AI executive stack workshop in Tampa Bay, Florida, in partnership with them on Sunday, November 8th. Tell us a little bit about, why would someone want to attend this workshop?
I mean, everybody should want to attend the workshop. I think
if you're asking that question, then maybe you're not even the right person.
Exactly. I think everybody should want to. I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to if AI is something that you're curious about and you want to step into it, but don't have direction or don't really know where to start even, this is the place to go. Like, let us kind of walk you through some of the trials and tribulations we've been through already, and provide some context and some insight and help you pick a direction. That's really, like, it should be it. But like I said, everybody should want to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I was asked a couple of days ago, hey, what are you guys going to be teaching on? What's the agenda look like? And I'm like, you guys, that's probably going to change in the next 3 months. Yeah. It's going into July. This is in November. Yeah. So, we've got 4 months before this event happens. And if I think back 4 months ago, we were on a completely different roadmap than we are today.
Yeah. The pivots happen quick. And that goes back to the change management we were talking about earlier. It really comes down to just understanding what is developing and what's happening in the moment right now. So if you're interested and want to understand implementation, that's great. The implementation, the ways you do the implementation and the tools that you will use will change next month. In my opinion, we don't need to get deep into it, but that should slow down. We're going to get way less model releases it's going to be a more infrequent cadence coming up here. So this is really a great opportunity for people who haven't stepped into it to there's going to be a beat in the market. So step in now and understand what's going on, because model releases are going to slow down for a little bit, in my opinion.
I think it might be a good thing, though, because the PwC 2026 Global CEO Survey said 56% of CEOs reported their AI investment delivered neither high revenue nor lower costs and did not improve their company.
Yeah.
So 56% of CEOs said AI has not helped, is what I'm going to just, paraphrase. And all the while, there's AI gurus and consultants out there. I was hit up on LinkedIn by one yesterday who say, I can help you. I know your industry. I know AI.
Yeah.
I'm going to come in and set this up for you.
Yeah.
My biggest concern with these gurus is if they understand AI, that's great. And I think that's 40 to 50% of the context.
Sure.
The other 60 to 50% is the operating needs of a company.
Mm-hmm.
Because the workflows of a company at K&D are completely different than the workflows of a company at Site Landscape in Texas that Andrew's running.
Yeah.
And we've compared, even though we run on similar systems like Aspire, we all use things and operate things differently.
Yeah.
So I think there's this I just want to give caution out there to everybody that there are AI gurus coming to our industry who will say they know everything about landscaping and they know everything about AI and they're going to fix all your problems.
Yeah.
And just sign this 3-year, $250,000 retainer and we're good to go.
And they sent that message to HVAC companies and whoever. It's the same message. Yeah. The way that we as operators live and breathe in our company and understand how we work, and not only how we work, but how we're not working well, is a huge part of this. Yeah. Understanding what's broken in the company doesn't happen by signing a contract and having somebody show up for a day. Somebody needs to live in that company for a little bit of time and feel the pain a little bit of it before they can actually implement AI. AI is not, like I said, you can't just plug it in and provide value. You have to build all of that stuff first, all of the process, all of the structure, all of the rules.
It's a really good explanation there. I think what we're going to see is this feeling that you're falling behind as a CEO or a leader, especially CTOs and CIOs, people that are in larger organizations, private equity backed with the board of directors. If you guys are listening to this, and I know many do, you're under a lot of pressure to implement AI.
Yeah.
What have you done with AI lately? That's the question all boards are asking right now, their CEO and their leadership teams. And I think what they're finding is if they hire some, I'm not going to name these AI firms, but if they hire one of these AI consultancy firms, they can go back to the board and say, see, I just spent $200,000 on AI.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, the board's like, okay, show me the results of that $200,000. And they're having a hard time proving any type of ROI.
Yeah. It's going to be a challenge for companies now, companies in the future. Finding ROI out of AI is really, really difficult because a lot of companies are trying to measure time and money. That's really what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, even as landscapers, that's what we do with labor variance is we're measuring time and money, right? So trying to do that with AI is a lot harder. It's not necessarily boots on the ground doing the job. It's not necessarily, it's weird, like I said earlier, weird things where you find extra time back that you're probably not measuring. And a lot of these consultants are having a hard time providing those measurements too. They just have solutions that are pretty generic. They expect you to plug that into your company and it should work. That's what they say.
Plug and play, which, so your recommendation is really, you kind of have to in-house this to some degree. Mm-hmm. But what if you're so busy running a landscape company that you can barely keep your head around above water? And so the thought of going out and recruiting and hiring someone to manage your AI seems impossible.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, really hard. I don't have an answer for that. I wish I had a better answer for you. I think really what it comes down to is understanding that this is something that you need to invest time in and creating that time. You'll do certain things as a CEO or as anybody who's running a company. You'll do things that will better your business and you'll create the time for that because you know it's valuable. You'll need to do the same thing with AI. It's just what needs to happen. If you're going to find success in the next few years, you need to carve out that time. That's really the only answer.
It's great advice. I totally agree. You guys, we need to take ownership of this. This isn't a delegation task. This isn't something you hand to the 20-year-old intern you hired. This is something that you have to own as a leader. And if you're listening to this, you're a leader. You have to own this. So why don't we wrap the podcast with this? Why don't we both give a mission, an assignment to everybody listening? What's one thing that they can do with AI in the next 7 days that will help them achieve some level of traction and some level of progression in the right direction to say, I am learning and working with AI. And maybe we can keep this going every week. We'll have an assignment.
Sure.
You guys come back, you do it, and now you're making progress.
I find a lot of value in, I brought this up to you earlier, self-interviews. I think it's not something that people leverage often. They present AI with a problem they have and ask for a solution, but they don't really dig deeper, and they might not even know exactly what their issue is. They might know that this is a problem, but how do we get there? If you can, as I do this often, is say I want you to run a 20-question interview, a 10-question interview with me about a specific issue that I'm having, and we're going to dig pretty deep on it. I want you to ask me probing questions. I want you to challenge me. I want you to maybe even pivot this completely. Maybe the issue that I'm having is not associated with what I think it is.
Yeah.
Run that prompt and just be like, hey, I want you to run through this interview with me about this particular process. And you can, it's pretty good at it. You can set times and say, I only have a 30-minute block, so just make it a 30-minute interview. Run through that interview about that specific issue and see that output that you get and ask it specifically, what actions should I take after this interview based on my answers? And you'll find really specific value out of that. And that's, I do it when I am faced with a challenge that I don't have an answer to. I just know I need to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I like that. Mine would be to, if you haven't yet, create your first automated workflow in Claude Cowork. So a scheduled task, let's say. So go into Claude, and then you need it to be on the desktop version. Go to Cowork. You'll see that in the middle. And just create a new task and make it really simple. One super simple thing we've used before is a daily brief.
Yep.
Use it as a daily brief. Have it go through your email. And I would recommend having to do this task during a point in the day where you're at your computer.
Yeah.
If you're normally at your computer at 11 a.m., have it scheduled for that, because a lot of people schedule this for 4 or 5 a.m., but their laptop is closed in their backpack, not connected to the internet, and that task will fail to run.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation, is connect that. And obviously you got to connect your Gmail in that case, or your Google Calendar. There's so much more you can do, and maybe get a little creative, but go out and build a Claude Cowork automated task.
Yep.
And if you do those two things, you're going to be ahead of most people.
Yep, 100%.
All right, Sean, thanks for being on the weekly update.
Yeah.
And you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to keep giving you guys AI, information, technology, and innovation here on the weekly update. See ya.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in to Trades Talk, where the next generation of disruptors comes to raise the bar. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in the trades who's ready to level up. For more tools, insights, and community, follow host Justin White and join the movement at jwhitegroup.com.